Welcome back to part 2 of Go Forward Side Effects. As I mentioned last week, I am a Go Forward vet. My name is Kevin Simon. And this week, I want to talk about the VA, how the VA has helped me and how the VA needs some improvement. So back in 2015, when Obamacare kicked in, I lost my health insurance, which was a good health insurance, and they told me that I was now stuck with a Veterans Administration down in Houston, and I need to go down there and get everything signed up. So I didn't believe them, so I called down to the VA, and they literally told me, yes, welcome to the new VA healthcare center. And I didn't know whether to be really, really pissed off or really, really sad. I mean, I knew how the VA was the last time I went, and I just was dreading it. And so I decided that I'd go down there, I'll get my VA card, I'll go see what it's like. Well, I pulled up to the VA, and they had police officers everywhere escorting the cars around. And I pulled up, and there was a big old sign that happened to say, "Welcome to Houston VA. Valet parking." And I was like, what the heck is this? Valet parking at the VA? So I pulled up there. I said, I just need to go park my truck. And they were like, no, we park it for you. And so, of course, I was like, okay, and then second thought was, how much is this going to cost me? And so I asked that question. And, of course, they told me it was free. It was, thank me for my service. And he shook my hand. I was like, okay, this is totally different. Walked in, it was a brand new hospital, beautiful. And they had a nice food court. And I walked into the admin, and I told them who I was. And they, took my name down. I was only there about 5 minutes. They called me back. They took my picture and told me my ID card would be in there in 2 weeks, but they want to set me up with a healthcare provider. So they scheduled me an appointment, and off I went. So I walked in, and I met with the doctor. I sat there probably about 30 minutes, which is a regular doctor's appointment anywhere you go around where we live. And she went over all my health concerns. And so she started going one by one. Well, I think the biggest problem I had is my feet burned so bad. That was my biggest problem. And of course, the kidney stones, that I had no idea, what they were going to do. I didn't know how the system worked for me. I didn't know anything. And so the nurse came in, and the nurse was like, well, we're going to order you all these tests, but you have to go downtown. Now, for me, downtown is about an hour and a half drive because of traffic. If it's a great day, it's about 45 minutes. So, they did all these tests on me. They, sent me to a GI doctor. They sent me to every doctor you can dream of. They did x-rays on my feet. They sent me to a podiatrist. They sent, they had me going in, and at first they told me, oh, you have plantar fasciitis. I was like, okay. And I was telling about my digestive system. Well, about the third or fourth time I decided to go into the Conroe clinic, I was telling them, look, my feet are really bad. And for what I do, because I cut hair for a living, and I'm on my feet, I'm like, I can't do this. There's no way I could possibly keep cutting hair with as bad as my feet were hurting. So they said, well, we're going to send you for what's called a neuropathy. I don't know if any of y'all has ever done a neuropathy test, but I recommend, if you have to do it, man, wear a lot of deodorant because you're going to sweat. That is the worst test I've ever done in my lifetime. I lay down, and that doctor starts shocking me on this side of my foot, all going up my neck. And then I was thinking, all right, great, it's over. Then he breaks out this long needle. I mean, that thing must have been 8 inches long, but it looked like it was about 100 foot long. And he starts sticking them between my toes, going all the way up my calf, all the way towards my neck. And He said his machine was broke. So he went and got another doctor, and they brought another machine, and they say I had to go through the whole test over again. Come to find out that first machine was not broke. It actually, they rated me a 6 on the neuropathy. So they were like, huh. So they said, was I having digestive problems? I said, yeah. And now, I don't know about most of y'all, but almost every specialist that y'all go see at the VA, one way or another, I don't know about y'all's towns, they don't ask you, where do you think you got it from? The first thing they usually ask you is, what war did you fight in? Were you in Vietnam? Were you in Desert Storm? And you're like, Desert Storm. They're like, oh. And then they'll tell you what they're thinking. They're thinking, well, it could have been what they injected in you. It could have been something you could have, been exposed to, the oil rigs out there. But if you ever notice when you leave there and you see your report, they never put that in there. And that's the fault to me of the VA. The VA doesn't talk to each other. Your doctor doesn't talk to the specialist doesn't talk to your provider. And that's where things need to change. I totally have decided I leave a paper trail. So what I do is when I go in now, I email after my appointment and ask them if they would call me or text me through the messaging exactly, what my, test results, were, if they found anything. And let's take, for instance, I did a sleep apnea test. It came back, they said, oh, everything's fine. And, I did this, not even a year ago during COVID, as a matter of fact. And they said, nothing to worry about, no big deal. And I just found out a week ago, I do have a sleep disorder. And they want me to go to a dentist and have an implant put in because my oxygen level dropped so low while I'm sleeping at night. And so they said that's a cause of concern. So I get back, and when I saw my new doctor, the new doctor I have is a PA. So he kind of goes over, he's a little bit more extensive than my regular doctor. My regular doctor just sits behind a keypad and asks what medicines I need and asks how I've been feeling and leaves. But to me, the PAs seem to be a lot more caring. That just in my eyes at the VA for what I found. This doctor went over every test, and he's the one who found my sleep test. And he says caused by GERD. And I literally asked him, since I'm already connected with GERD because I was in the military, would he be able to write that out for me, that he believes that's what it is? He goes, yeah, no problem. So he did. And so they decided, we need to do some more tests. And I know I kind of jumped ahead on that one. I was just trying to give a description on kind of how the PAs and the doctors work differently. But I'm going to get back to the neuropathy. So they figured out my B12 went all the way down to 70. And they believed that it'd been at 70 for about a year and a half. And so I had to go in weekly and get B12 shots until I got it back up to where it was above 500. I take B12 now, but I take it every other week. And if you remember in my last there that, he had neuropathy, but wasn't a diabetic, he doesn't understand. And I went in there and I explained my case to him that because of my IBS and I've had a digestive system problem, I lose my B12. And which they say my B12 just flushes straight out. And I'll be coming to that story real soon too. And so what they ended up telling me is that because I lost my B12, it caused permanent damage in my feet. So my question is, well, how do you fix it? Their answer, you guessed it, medication. There's nothing that they can do. And I even, when I first started out, I was on gabapentin, and it put me on 900 milligrams of gabapentin. Within a year, I was up to 2,700 milligrams of gabapentin for about 5 years, and then they added me on to Cymbalta. And, I don't know if y'all know anything about Cymbalta, but, I'm not a very depressed person. Matter of fact, I'm a very happy-go-lucky guy. And it did mess me up as far as mentally. But the thing it did was give me very bad fog memory. Like I'll drive down the road and I'll be like, I don't even remember how I got here. So in the last couple of months now, they took me off of gabapentin and put me on Lyrica. And I'm on a low dose of Lyrica, which I just called them and talked to them a couple of days ago. And they literally said they're going to jump me up to 100 milligrams of Lyrica twice a day. So I'll be happy to see if this works. But my question to that doctor, my neurologist, was, why is it that I hear, neuropathy commercials all the time saying we can cure your neuropathy? And their answer is that stuff doesn't really work. Well, how do they know unless they don't allow us to try it on the outside? And that's the thing I don't understand. Because now if I go get insurance, I know that, once you hit a certain age, insurance is just too expensive for me to have. And I would like to try that system that they got. As some people say, hey, it worked wonders. I know some people say don't do it because it causes a lot of problems. But, that's the problem. I know when Obama got into office, which I give Obama a lot of credit, because that's when it seemed like the VA stuff really changed. And I give Trump a lot of credit because he allowed us to start going to outside doctors. Only if you can't get an appointment within 30 days. But on the underlying part of that, which every one of y'all need to understand who are just now getting into the VA system, is that you have to have your doctor's permission. And I mean, I needed to go see a kidney doctor. So you go down to and get an appointment with your kidney doctor through your provider. And I couldn't get one for 5 months. I said, well, can I go see an outside doctor? And they're like, no, because of COVID, all this stuff going on, you can't. That needs to change. I just don't understand why we have to have just a VA center. I mean, I believe we should be able to go to any doctor who says that they can help us. I do. I believe that the government, since they're saying that I'm connected with my problems, why shouldn't I be able to go to an outside doctor that says that they could cure this? So, the VA's got a lot of good stuff going for them right now. Like, you get on your VA, the VA.gov, and the two main websites I use is actually My Healthy Vet, which most vets should use that because you can order prescriptions. You can order, your hearing aids. You can order the batteries for them, all the connections that need to be cleaned. And also, it has a lot of good topics. Like it kept you up to date with COVID. And no matter what you think about what COVID is going on, at least they were keeping you up to date where you can go get your shots, who can get their shots, what age you can get their shots. And then you can schedule your appointments on there. So I highly recommend getting on My Healthy Vet. And when you go through there, learn everything you have is a paper trail. Like on there, if I'm not mistaken, they have a appointment reminder. They have, you can see your documents of your last appointments. You can use messaging. You can use your blue button. So it got a lot of, and the secure messaging is what I like, because I like to email. Like if I don't have a serious problem, but I just want the doctor to call me or send me something real quick, I send that message to the doctor. And I can't speak for anywhere else, but from where I'm at, my doctor usually gets a hold of me either that day or by that morning, and is quick to answer on there. Now, the VA.gov, I played around with it. And that's pretty informative because that's really where you got to order your batteries and your equipment for your hearing aids from. And, on VA.gov, it also has like career jobs. They help vets find jobs. I mean, it even posts on there sometimes about the VA, get a career inside the VA. And it's not hard for a veteran to get a job at the VA. If you're needing employment, and go through both of them sites, get both of them accounts, start leaving yourself a paper trail. Because if most of y'all know, when you look in your health summaries on the My Healthy Vet, and you're looking up underneath there, when you click on your summary of what's going on, most of it, they have, your medications, your problems list. Let's go over that problems list, because this is the biggest problem that the VA has. They don't put your problems in your problems list unless you make them. I literally had to go to my congressman, Kevin Brady, because my doctor put nothing in my problems list. So if you file a claim and you don't have anything in your problems list, guess what? You don't got a problem. They don't look at any of it. So if the one thing you're trying to get a claim on that literally actually says, you got neuropathy, but it's not on your problems list, they're going to pretty much deny you right off the bat until they put it on your problems list. So you really need to make sure when you go, it doesn't matter if you stubbed your toe. It doesn't matter if you got athlete's foot, all the way up to heart conditions. They need to be on your problems list. Every medication, let the doctors know what medications you are taking. And usually most doctors, not all, but most of them that I've come across at the VA usually know what medications you're on by looking at your chart. Along with the apps and everything that you're using, and especially with stuff like PTSD, which I'm not real familiar with PTSD. I'm just not. I can only tell you what my problems are. But people who are dealing with PTSD, I want you to know I'm going to have a guest on there about that, and let them talk about what they're going through. And, and if y'all have questions for them, you definitely sure can email me on there. And healthy living, that's another thing. As veterans, I know when I was out during the Gulf War, the pizza truck, I know this may sound weird, but during the Gulf War, the pizza truck would always pull up, and we order pizzas at least once a week, during Desert Storm, which was really neat. And ice cream, Bluebell, as a matter of fact. So eating healthy and being healthy is also going to be a key thing. And your doctors, for sure, they should always go over that. Do they? No, they don't. And this is another fault that I fought where the VA is I'll go in there for something and I'll look on there and they'll say, oh, they checked all my vitals, and they never checked my vitals. And I'm just like, well, that's weird. And I call them out on it. Send them a text message through the My Health app. I'll be like, hey, while I was there, y'all didn't check my vitals. Y'all checked me for, something else, but not once. Your medications, that to me is also a great benefit for us. One of the best benefits I think we could have, believe it or not, is medication. It's because, number one, it doesn't cost you anything. Number two, you are in control of your medications. They're not. So if you need a prescription, you go right on to your My Health and RVA.gov. And to me, they're one and the same because they always kick you back to My Health, which I don't understand that. But on there, I just click on the prescriptions every 3 weeks and I pre-order. Some of them are automatic rotating for me, like my B12. It's just automatically rotated. With people with neuropathy, that I definitely want to talk to y'all about a couple of incidents that I've had. So when they first put you on Cymbalta, don't feel weird the first time you go back to the VA and the nurse walks up to you and puts his hand on your shoulder and says, "Are you feeling okay today? Are you okay? How's your family life?" And you're kind of looking at him like he is the weirdest guy in the world. What the heck are you doing? And then all of a sudden it clicks to me. Wait, are you talking about I'm on Cymbalta? He's like, well, yeah, for PTSD. I said, no, that's for my neuropathy. Trust me, they'll start clapping their hand, walking away, laughing. It's just a really funny thing that my nurse did. And they have ointments out there for people with neuropathy. And this is the best message I can give you. One of them is lidocaine ointment. It doesn't work. Not for me. I hope it does for any of you vets out there that have no neuropathy. I really, really hope. But there's another cream that they give you that, it's a lot like icy hot. And they'll tell you when you rub it on your feet, it's going to burn for 60 to 90 seconds. Well, don't believe them, because I rubbed it on my feet. And believe me, 100% on this, my feet did not burn. So I went to bed. I woke up about 2:30 in the morning and I decided I had to go to the bathroom. Nowhere in there did not one of y'all hear me say, I washed my hands after I used that ointment. Well, I pretty much started screaming, jumping in the shower, because that did hurt. That was the most burning pain I've ever felt besides a kidney stone, is having an ointment burn you. And I couldn't believe how long it lasted on there. I thought I'd share that with you so that way none of y'all make that same mistake I did. Let's go to what I call the VA's worst mistake. And to me, it's when you file your claim and they send you to their outside doctor, VES or LHI. To me, if I had to go to any of them, I want to go to LHI. LHI, to me, was a whole lot more thorough. And they actually, whenever I went in there personally, they did an actual thorough inspection of what my problem was. They took x-rays. They did it all. VES did nothing. I went in there and the doctor decided that he was going to just sit on the computer just like my old doctor did and just type. And he's like, all right, I want to hear your story. So you're sitting in there and you're only there about 3 to 5 minutes. And then he goes, and they'll tell you, they won't tell you at LHI, but they'll tell you at VES, because this happened to me twice, that, you know what? How come you didn't file for this, or you should be filing for that? Don't tell them I'm telling you this, but you can make a whole lot of money if you file like this. And then you get the paperwork back and it says you're denied because they didn't find any findings. So I decided that I was going to go ahead and I was going to record my last one about my neuropathy. And of course, I went in there and he was asking me all these questions, and he must have forgot that he was the same guy I saw last time, 3 months ago, for the neuropathy. And this time when he was evaluating the neuropathy, because I also had other ones, I also had IBS and GERD and all that going in with this, although I was already connected with GERD. They just decided to put my GERD and IBS as the same. I don't understand why. But he decided to say, I don't understand how come you're not connected with IBS. And I didn't really say anything. And he goes, if you filed for IBS, you're going to get this certain amount. Or if you file for, your neuropathy, you'll get this certain amount. And so I'm sitting there and I'm just like, I just literally recorded you telling me the exact same thing you told me on the last time. And again, it came back, I got denied again. So this time I took matters into my own hands, and I was able to send the VA, what my experience was with talking with that doctor. And so I had the guy calling me, and not that doctor, but the VA calling me, the guy who was doing my claims, and he wanted to know more about it. And he told me that the way how everything works. And I said, well, I don't understand how I'm being denied, but this guy's telling me. And the whole time he kept saying B12. I didn't know you got to file for B12 and then file as a secondary to IBS. And then you file a secondary to the B12, your neuropathy. So if any of y'all are experienced through claims right now that has to deal with neuropathy and they're saying it's caused by your B12, you have to file for B12 first before you can file for neuropathy. And just want y'all to know that. And to me, there isn't much difference between fibromyalgia or neuropathy. It's all nerve damage. Only thing is what causes it. So they decided they wanted to do a endoscopy and a colonoscopy on me, and which I was quite excited. I was thinking they were going to find a few polyps or they were going to find something wrong with my colon. And so I went and I did it. And the stuff that they had you drink is not that bad. So if you're coming up for one, never done one, just remember chicken broth is the key. So after it was over with and I got my results back and the doctor called me, I guess in the lining of my stomach, or everybody's stomach, not just mine, you have what's called B12 absorptions. That absorbs the B12s and holds it there and releases it. I don't have any, mine's gone. So really, the very first doctor I've ever saw that told me about my B12 said that could be the only thing that will make his determination. His determination of what my problem is that some type of a chemical, whether ingested or put in me or shots or, the 5 anthrax shots they say we got, something messed up my digestive system. So, which now I'm glad to know that it wasn't what all the other doctors were telling me, that it possibly can't be caused by IBS. And now come find out it is 100% caused by IBS. The claims part of it is probably, to me, the most depressing. And especially with everything that people have gone through, all of us vets have gone through, each and every one of us know what caused our problems. The VA knows what caused our problems. But just like the Vietnam vets, they're not going to come out unless we fight for it and work for it. And that's what you have to do. You have to create your own paper trail. So when you want to go file a VA claim, you need to have all your medical records from when you were in the Navy. I mean, there is a lot of different Gulf War illnesses out there. It just isn't what I have. I mean, there's all kinds. There's cancer. I know a guy that got testicle cancer, and he had to go through chemo. And the only way that he could have possibly have gotten it is with the way that they're saying, the regular doctors, is some he was exposed to. Another gentleman that I know very well, I can't say his name, but I love to have him on my show, and I'm going to talk to him about it. He one day came in and I probably hadn't seen him in 6 months. I asked him where he's been. He said he'd been in a hospital. And I said, well, what have you been in a hospital for? He said, well, I had the CDC and all these people, put me in a little room all by myself, and nobody was, they had to call infectious diseases. And one of the questions that they asked after they did all the studies was, one or two things happened. Have you ever been to Africa? He said, no. They said, well, what you have is caused by African spider bite or a Syrian gas. Were you in the Gulf War? He said, yes. They turned around, walked out. Everybody just pretty much left him right there. And today is fighting it. And so he's trying to get all the paperwork. And I worked with him some on this, and that's why also I'm going to bring in a attorney in on this that files for VA disabilities that can go over this better than what I can. Just know when you file a claim, everybody, you need to file what is truly going on with you. I know this is going to cause a lot of stirring up, but I do believe there are false claims out there. I believe it 100% because I know it and I've seen it. I was at the VA and a guy was filing for his knee. And he stood right there and he told me, while we're in the VA, I just got in a car accident about 2 weeks ago and it really bust up my knee. Now I'm going to try to get more money. And I'm just like, so you're going to take away from the guys who really need it and take it for yourself. To me, I think that's wrong. That's not why I want to do this podcast. I want to do this podcast to help everybody that truly needs it. And if I've met people that I've served with that don't have any problems, in which I don't understand that. But a lot of guys I served with do have the same problems. You know, some people get lucky, some of us don't. If any of y'all out there that have more to, you know, bring to light on the subject of the VA and, you know, the claims part, please email me at kevinsimon@gulfwarsideeffect.com. That's KEVINSIMON @gulfwarsideeffects.com. On part 3, I'm going to be bringing in a special guest. And I hope all y'all stay tuned for that. It's going to be a very exciting one. And also, if y'all know anybody else that can enlighten us on these issues, please don't hesitate to send me an email. Let's get our word out. Have a good night.